persistent heavy rains over the northern and eastern parts of the country are beginning to wreak havoc on infrastructure, with more than 180 millimeters of rain measured by residents of Louis Trichardt over the past 24-hour period. According to the South African Weather Service, SAWS, the severe weather conditions are being caused by a persistent low-pressure system currently affecting the northeastern regions of South Africa, bringing significant rainfall. In response, the SAWS yesterday issued impact-based severe weather warnings, including Orange Level 9 and Orange Level 6 warnings for disruptive rainfall over the eastern parts of Limpopo and Mpumalanga for yesterday and today, 13th January. The Orange Level 6 warning indicates a high likelihood of disruptive rainfall, with significant impacts including flooding of roads and settlements, and danger to life due to fast-flowing streams and deep waters. Major roads may be flooded or closed, and major disruptions to traffic flow could occur, the SAWS explained. The Orange Level 9 warning, the SAWS said, represents a medium likelihood of disruptive rainfall, with severe impacts including widespread and dangerous flooding, the closure of major roads and bridges, significant damage to infrastructure and settlements, and an increased risk of injuries and danger to life, particularly in low-lying and flood-prone areas.
It is now 11:46.
Severe weather in Limpopo and Mpumalanga is causing significant disruptions in the Kruger National Park, with some camps and gates closed due to rising river levels. Guests are advised to heed all warnings and road closures, as SANParks prioritizes safety and monitors the evolving situation. For many, the recent downpours are reminiscent of the 2013 floods and those of February 2000, when Cyclone Line ripped through the northeastern parts of the country. In both instances, heavy rains fell on already drenched soil. A brief look at the amount of rain that fell over the regions during December 2025 shows that Hoedspruit received 338 millimeters of rain, 289% more than the normal 117 millimeters. Polokwane received 140% more rain, 117 millimeters, than the normal 84 millimeters. Some residents in Louis Trichardt measured 150 millimeters of rain for December. Over the weekend, more severe showers followed. As for daily rainfall, the SAWS measured 157 millimeters at Punda Maria for the 24-hour period ending at 8 o'clock on the 12th of January. At Shangoni, in the Kruger National Park, 115 millimeters of rain fell. The most significant rainfall, which was also a new daily record for the area over the past 8 years, was the 169.6 millimeters measured over a 24-hour period on January 11th at Chinoa Primary School in Sibasa. Pupils in Thohoyandou, Limpopo, will have to wait until next week to kick off their 2026 academic year because of the heavy rains that have caused flooding in the province since the weekend. The Vhembe and Mopane districts have been severely affected by the floods, with most schools in the area reportedly inaccessible. As millions of pupils returned to schools across the country today, there were no pupils or teachers at Luaname Primary School in Mianzwi village, 30 kilometers outside Thohoyandou, on Wednesday morning. The school has over 300 pupils. Other affected schools in the area include Madangari Primary, Lunangwe Secondary, Luaname, and Mianzwi Primary Schools. Makasani Chake, a cleaner at Luaname, said it was going to be impossible for pupils to get to school due to widespread flooding. Maybe on Monday, when the water has lowered, schools will be opened, Chake said. I am happy the teachers took the decision, because it is not safe for small kids to cross rivers in such conditions. Some teachers stay far from the school, and the villages where they stay are also experiencing flooding. I hope the rain can stop this week, so that next week, our kids can start with learning. Redani Aswinthusi, a ward committee member and parent who has children attending Mianzwi Primary School, said some adults were helping prevent water from getting into the classrooms. We're here cleaning the school to remove the water, so that next week the children and teachers find classes ready, Aswinthusi said. Humbulani Mahuva, a teacher at Lunangwe Secondary School, said they were disappointed at not being able to open schools on Wednesday. I am worried because the 3 days of school we are going to miss are very crucial. But there is nothing we can do about it. I was ready to start teaching today and wanted to force my way, but the floods are too much, and I was told the school is empty, Makuva said. The Limpopo Education Department said, "We will monitor the affected areas with the assistance of the disaster teams in the municipalities and give updates on a daily basis." The recent floods have disrupted the delivery of food and will also affect scholar transport for learners who reside far from schools. The department will advise when it is suitable for schooling to resume in the affected areas. As a storm from Mozambique continued to drench parts of Limpopo and Mpumalanga this week, pilots, conservation workers, and residents in and around Hoedspruit, Limpopo, were watching river levels like hawks. Locals here do not need the memory of an elephant to recall the devastating 2012 floods, when lodges were submerged and tourists and residents were ferried out by boat and helicopter. Jerry McDonald, a helicopter pilot with Big Game Heli Services in Hoedspruit, evacuated tourists on Tuesday and was planning more evacuations on Wednesday. The company specializes in conservation, anti-poaching support, and wildlife operations. It's very similar, that long sort of gentle soaking rain. In 2012, it was exactly the same, McDonald told Daily Maverick. He was preparing for any eventuality. The rivers are rising and the predictions anticipate more rains. On Tuesday, the Sabi Sand Nature Reserve manager, Rian Kruger, said the enclave of iconic private reserves on Kruger National Park's southwestern border was open and operating. Although larger service trucks were not accessing Sabi Sand, guests were being transported in 4x4 vehicles during the wet conditions. Obviously, 2012 was pretty big, and we all remember the January 2000 floods, cautioned Kruger, recalling the catastrophic effects of Cyclone Leoneline from Mozambique, which inundated northeastern South Africa, killing about 800 people. I don't think the current situation is anywhere close. Yes, the Sand River is in flood, and day-to-day logistics are more difficult, but there's no state of emergency in the reserve. Sabi Sand had received 150 millimeters of rain from Sunday to Tuesday. There's still some rain forecast for the next few days, Kruger underlined. McDonald said he had received calls asking him to assist with air evacuations as several private reserves and lodges in the greater Kruger region had been temporarily cut off by rising rivers or risked being isolated. Traffic authorities had closed the R527 Hoedspruit Bridge leading out of the small town, which does not have any traffic lights, due to flooding. When Daily Maverick inspected the Hoedspruit River on Tuesday at 2:30 p.m., it was overflowing onto both sides of the R527. The bridge was completely submerged in brown, soupy water. Dr. Ben Muller, a veterinarian with Wildscapes Veterinary and Conservation Services, confirmed that river crossings had been disrupted. "You can't cross the Klaseri River," he said, citing conditions reported from private reserves. People are stuck. People on estates near the Blyde River, which had reportedly burst its banks, were unable to reach central Hoedspruit, where supermarkets were still trading, but many businesses were closed. McDonald pointed to the role dams had played in past disasters. In 2012, the pilot said, "The rivers came up in flood and then the dams broke. So once those dams started breaking, there was devastation below." After those floods, the dam infrastructure in Klaseri along the eastern central Kruger region was not rebuilt. "There's a lot more free-flowing water now," said McDonald. "That was a big problem. Those dams broke and this big wall of water came pouring down. In the past week, a particularly wet few days had soaked the ground, increasing runoff. The ground is actually saturated," McDonald observed. The region had already received significant rains this season when the storm from Mozambique started rolling in over the weekend. Any water that comes from the rain now, it just runs off. So anything flooding is going to be because of that. He said the South African Weather Service, SAWS, was still regarded as a reliable reference point, even as international weather apps fluctuated sharply from update to update. But I like to compare all of them. Regardless of concerns about the impact on wildlife, McDonald was unequivocal. No. It won't affect the wildlife at all. They can move freely. The areas are really big. They can always get onto high ground. That was also the case in 2012. Muller, the veterinarian, echoed his focus on preparedness rather than overreaction, saying conservation teams and reserve managers were monitoring conditions and planning contingencies, particularly for animals kept in camps. The Mohola-Hola Wildlife Rehabilitation Center outside Hoedspruit said it had not received reports of injured animals, nor had it taken in animals hurt by rain or flooding. Sabi Sand said none of the reserve's wildlife had been in sticky situations. The buffalo and rhino are just loving the pools forming throughout the reserve, said Kruger. The picture emerging in reserves and the broader conservation industry in northeastern South Africa this week has so far been one of severely testing conditions and isolation rather than all-out devastation. Flooded causeways, detours, stranded vehicles, and temporary evacuations by helicopter have been common. On Monday, a South African National Parks, SANParks, advisory said some roads and gates in Kruger National Park had been closed. In northern sections of the park, gates at Pafuri and Punda Maria were inaccessible, meaning the only access to the northern region of the park is via Phalaborwa Gate. In the south of the park, Crocodile Bridge was being monitored, while some roads were also shut. SANParks is actively contacting all guests with imminent arrivals to Kruger National Park to reschedule their visits, the advisory said. Eastgate Airport, the main air hub serving the safari capital, was closed for business on Tuesday due to weather, an airport spokesperson told Daily Maverick. In the 24 hours to 8 a.m., Tuesday alone, some SAW stations in the greater Kruger region had tracked more than 150 millimeters of rain. The Tshakhuma station to the west of northern Kruger had recorded 176 millimeters. Kruger-Mpumalanga International Airport in greater Kruger's southern reaches had clocked far less at 18 millimeters. SAWS issued orange level 9 warnings for eastern Limpopo and the Mpumalanga Lowveld and escarpment on Wednesday. Orange level 6 was expected over central Limpopo. A level 9 warning signals a high risk to life with widespread flooding and damage, while level 6 indicates serious but more localized impacts. SAWS spokesperson Hannah-Lee Dubell told Daily Maverick those warnings remained in place due to disruptive rain. Significant impacts were likely due to saturated soil, said SAWS. Hoedspruit citrus farmer Bram van der Merwe pointed out that he had experienced limited disruptions. However, farms in Sanin, further northwest, had received more than 100 millimeters of rain on Monday into Tuesday, according to SAWS readings. One thing is certain. Situated in a summer rainfall region, the famously hot provinces of Limpopo and Mpumalanga are now positively bursting with life and vast iridescent tracts of rolling green bushveld. It is stunning. The wild card is when the rain will end.
529 movha leyi wa yi tekiwe hi mati yi karhi yi tsemakanya kwala ndhawu leyi yona leyi